All right, we are back with another episode of Left Foot, Right Foot. And as most of you know, we took down our most recent video for reasons being that up to this point, everything with that video now is just inconclusive. And we wanted to actually use this video to expand on some of the larger ideas that the previous video had, which are how to deal with maestros and the community, both misconduct and misunderstandings. And so I guess we'll start with the misconduct part, right? Because we know that it happens. In the last video, we brought up some possible issues. And so it's ever clear to me now that there really is no easy answer for those people that have complaints against a maestro, right? It's because it's kind of like, well, if you bring it up generally, the person that's, at questionable really doesn't get the message because they're not they're not named. If you bring them out specifically, you have difficulties and things like that, kind of like what we faced last time. And if you go to a lot of you said, well, it's a issue with the police and those kind of things. Well, it's hard because lots of those things with misconduct is more of like a he said, she said thing, and it's very hard to prove. It's very hard to have evidence. And so it's tough because I just don't see a really easy solution of those people who actually have complaints about misconduct. And so we'll start with there. It's like, what do I empathize with people that, suffer from these misconducts.
Yeah, it's definitely a difficult topic because, again, it's what do you do? And especially when, I'm not a professional. Derek and I are not mental health professionals. So, but we've heard many times where generally people will say things like, oh, well, it needs to be reported right away. But sometimes people just, they go through so much shock and they're just trying to get their bearings straight that by the time they have the courage to approach the topic, it might be 1, 2, 3 years down after the fact. And then it's so far removed from, time-wise, from the incident that it's hard to either collect evidence or really go about it using the legal system. And also if it's in another country,
Yeah, when you're dealing with foreign travelers that are just visiting for a month or a couple weeks.
Yep. Or if it's someone who's visiting, not like, so student visiting another country.
Or maestro teacher
visiting here, it's like, well, they're gone. Like, what do you do? So it's a very difficult situation. They are warning people so that they don't take lessons with these teachers. But at the same time, it's a tough situation because it opens up the idea of, is there a misunderstanding? Did this really happen? Is your memory as good as it during the situation? People question the validity of everything, and it's hard to say, I want to believe you, but then it's like, can you prove it? Because when you're going against someone with a celebrity status, it's really, that's kind of the situation. If you don't have enough behind you to make that accusation, no one's going to believe you, and generally and as everyone says, it gets swept under the rug. And what can you do?
Especially if it's a very popular figure, which people respect and admire and adore. Absolutely, right?
Yeah.
It's tough. But then, with people that are high status, really known figures in anywhere, you do get these misunderstandings, and they do have to deal with some of these things that, for them, they feel like, they thought they weren't doing anything specifically wrong, and it just happened to be like a, misunderstanding, especially in a dance like tango that's super close, and, there's a lot of, involvement with bodies close to each other. Yeah. And so it's a tough scenario.
It is.
Really, because you're pressing against somebody else, and so it's a tough.
And then also in the maestro's defense, there's also people who get offended for one way or another, and they just want to go scorched earth and say, hey, I want to take down this person
Yeah.
for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And so there is a possibility of false accusations out there. I'm not
Yes.
saying, and I know everyone always says, oh, the false accusations are such a small percentage, but if you are part of that small percentage and you're the victim of false accusation,
Yeah, what do you
you're the
do?
ones dealing with it.
It's
And
tough.
so I know a lot of people will talk about statistics, but I mean, I could say the same thing about shark attacks. It's like, oh, hey, it's such a small statistics that people actually get hit by a shark. But if you're the one getting your leg taken, it's like, that sucks.
Yeah, and it's also we also live in a very guilty until proven innocent culture, and so allegations kind of even if false, right? They just kind of they're thrown out there and can damage one's reputation. We know that some people have moved on beyond them. It is possible, but yes, it does do its damage at first,
Yeah.
right? Until the truth comes out or whatever other side comes out, and people start to believe whatever.
But that's another thing is it's like, what is the truth and how does it come out? I mean, let's say I'm a maestro, right, and I have an accusation thrown at me. Like, what can I do to put my truth out there and have it be believable?
It's tough. I mean, we have no easy answer for this because we see this all the time, right? I mean, the best thing you can do is really just fight it either in court or fight it via social media and come out and kind of just say your piece or say your stance on things. I think that's probably the only options you can do, right?
Yeah, and also at the same time, if you're a victim, like, how do you get your truth out there? And for me, I think for victims, it's generally I see people make a complaint, and it's a general complaint. Oh, this maestro did X, Y, Z to me.
Yeah, they were overly flirty or
You know,
something.
and I think this is a problem where okay, so if you want support, like, how do we support you if we don't know who the perpetrator is? So I don't want to push people to name others right away because it's like, hey, you got to do what you're comfortable with. But at the
Yeah.
same time, from a person who wants to support these causes, like, I need to know what I'm dealing with, and it can't just be the boogeyman is out to get me.
Especially ones that are severe, like beyond just I don't know, harassment. Like
Yeah.
the cases that go like into I don't know, I'm not going to mention those things, but yes, the ones that go into more severe consequences. I feel very bad for those victims out there that have to that have those things happen to them and they have no voice and they can't. There is no answer, right?
Yeah, I mean,
It's like you don't have any evidence because you go to the police and there's no evidence and you can just file a restraining order, I guess.
yeah, and it's also bad because because there appears to be no recourse. It's almost like, well, if nothing could happen, why do I bother, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's the worst thing, coming from the victim standpoint, where it feels like there's no recourse, and then until it happens to several people, then people will want to come out and be like, oh, I can't let this happen to the next person.
Yeah.
But if
Then you get the snowball effect.
yeah,
And,
but generally when it happens to, like, from what I hear, when it happens to them, they think they're the first. And generally, if I hate to say it, if it happened to you and you think you're the first, chances are you're probably the 20th.
well, that's very
Well,
that depends a lot. But
Yeah,
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, but I mean, I think people always give the benefit of the doubt a little too much, and that's what keeps them quiet. But then when that snowball effect happens, where a lot of stories come out, then it doesn't come out until someone makes that stance and said, okay, it's time for me to come out, and I hope there's people behind me. And it's a very scary thing because you're putting your neck on the line in hopes that other people will come out and support you. And especially if you're going after like someone with a celebrity status, it's very damaging. And like you're just going to deal with a lot of stress again because like I think a lot of people will want to just put it behind them and they don't say anything.
Sure.
And then we're in this situation where we all know, we all heard about so and so, and
Yeah.
and as a guy, I can't do anything unless I know what I'm dealing with. Because if I'm going to, like, let's say, ban somebody off of a whisper, and then let's say I ban somebody, and then I go up to them and say, and then if I go up to them like, oh hey, I'm banning this person because I heard this happened to you from this person, and they're like, oh no, it didn't happen to me, because they just want to put the whole issue behind them.
Right.
It's like, well, gee, well, now I look like a schmuck, you know?
Yeah, you're the one holding the bag.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't think there's an easy way to put this, and I think the main reason why we're doing this video is because we want to continue this discussion, mainly because it's a hard thing that no one wants to talk about. Like, we all hear about these stories, we all know about them, but we don't talk about it, and we don't do anything about it because there's nothing concrete, or in my instance, I don't know what to do, because I don't see a road that leads forward. I just see it going around in circles.
Especially if it's a popular figure who most people like and have good experiences with, it becomes even more difficult when to fathom that there's a possibility of something like this, right? And so, I mean, it's tough all the way around.
Definitely want to hear from you. Put it down in the comments, like, what do you think should happen? What do you think can do? And also, like, if you want to, if you're a supporter, like, how do you support people like this when you're not too sure either? I think that's the hard part, because even for us, we just stated our opinions, and thought about it, and that was just, we got swept up in the wildstorm too.
Yeah.
And that's just like, we didn't go out and say, oh, he did it, she did it, whatever. We just said, oh, well, this is what we think, and this is what they said. And that alone was enough to get swept up in the wildstorm.
It was.
So, and I think that's generally why a lot of people don't want to support this, because no one wants to. No one wants to get
I don't want to
swept
be
up.
in it.
Yeah, it's like, hey, not
Hands
my problem,
off.
not my problem.
Exactly.
And generally, people always, I think people don't want to deal with the situation until they know someone.
Till it lands on their front door.
It's either it happened to them or it happened to someone that they know, like they're 1 degree away from it.
Yeah.
So, and that's a terrible thing, because is it because they don't want to deal with the drama? I personally don't want to deal with the drama.
Yeah.
And the second thing is, do we just want to see tango as fun? And it's such an inconvenient thing because it takes us away from our fun.
Yeah. We don't want to look at this negative side. We'll just look at the positive side.
Yeah. So it's, here we are.
Here we are. But yeah, let us know what you think about the balance of this, right? The misconduct and the misunderstanding, because it is a weird balance, right? It is a tricky scenario, and most likely this is going to come up again in some future thing. And so, how do we deal with something like this in our community at large? Because otherwise, I guess we just turn a blind eye and let behaviors continue, and I don't know if that's the greatest answer.
No, it's not.
And
also, it's not just the Meisters. It's anyone in a position of power, per se.
Not even that though. It's not even position of power either. It's like
it could be anyone in the community.
Situation.
Anyone in the community.
This could happen.
Yeah.
Misunderstanding and misconduct. So, but let us know what you think, and we appreciate all the support, and thank you all so much for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Left Foot, Right Foot. Don't forget to click the subscribe button and notification bell to keep up to us in our latest content.
Yeah, it really goes a long way. We've come a long way so far, and we really appreciate everyone's support in helping us grow this channel and all supporting our lifelong path of really getting social dancing out there and allowing other people to find their way to Argentine Tango.